Holy cow,
What
Tasha.
happened?
24 Democrats running for the 2020
Ain't nobody care about
election.
that. I'm independent.
Yeah, independent. Now,
Say what?
nothing. I'm just saying that there are a ton of people running. Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Bill de Blasio, Cory Booker, John Delaney, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Julian Castro, John Hickenlooper, Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Yang, Tim Ryan, Marianne Williamson, Michael Bennett, Kirsten Gillibrand, Jay Inslee, Tulsi Gabbard, Wayne Messam, Eric Swalwell, Amy Klobuchar, Seth Moulton, Steve Bullock, and who's Joe Sestak?
Beats the fuck out of me, I don't know.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Nice But Feisty. I am Mandy Nice, and there was just one topic I wanted to address before we get into the debates. And that topic is Oregon GOP Republicans decided that they were going to flee their state so they wouldn't have to vote on a bill concerning climate change. And unfortunately, I don't know of any other job that you can just, one, not do your job and still get a check, two, run away from your job and still get a check. And in this case, a GOP member by the name of Brian Buquest actually stated to the mayor, if you're going to authorize these police officers to come and retrieve me, basically he said, you better send bachelors. Basically, he's threatening these officers' lives, and still he's getting a check. So I've just never seen where you have that type of job or position that you can do all of those things. So I just, for all of you lawmakers out there, you are being commissioned by your taxpayers and by the American people to vote on their behalf on a bill. And in this case, they fear that the bill will pass because they don't have enough nays to stop the bill. And unfortunately, as my sister would say, that's going to cost you an L. And she's right, you're going to lose it. But the fact of the matter is, you still need to do your job. You cannot just abdicate your position just because you're going to lose something. You must still show up and do your job. Okay, so that's that. Not too much more on that. Okay, so let's jump right into the debate. And I've got the first day. It was a little less exciting than the second day, but this is what happens when you leave things up to fate and draw straws. All right, so on the first day, we have Cory Booker, Julian Castro, Bill de Blasio, Joe Delaney, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, and the fan favorite of them all, Elizabeth Warren. Now, I understand why she's a fairly recognized and more, I would say she's an apt, very astute Democrat, because for every plan that she's putting that she's proposing is that she has a plan to actually pay for it. So I do commend her for that every plan that she's putting forth, she's like, and this is how I pay for it. So, and I just want to let you know that there are a lot more conservative leaning people watching these debates than you know. And so I think in that respect that having how you're going to pay for it is very good. One thing that stood out to me, other than the fact that, like, okay, everyone, we're trying to get you your health care, we're trying to get you better jobs, all of these things. What made Bill de Blasio kind of stand out in this debate for me was that he directly called it out. He says, there's this rhetoric out there that immigrants are taking your jobs, and what you need to look at is that the top 1% and the massive corporations are the ones that have really snatched the American dream from people that, whether you're native born here in the U.S. or if you come from someplace else, that's really where all of the problems are coming, because you have massive corporations that are basically incentivized to expand their businesses outside of the U.S., but they still get tax breaks. And what I think the United States of America, and maybe even other countries may want to look at is say, okay, you can do business here, but you will get tax write-offs, or you will get tax benefits, or you will get incentives based off of who you hire inside of our country. So for example, the U.S. needs to take back whatever subsidies that they're giving out to massive corporations if they're not employing U.S. workers. And other countries may need to start looking in that as well, based off of your situation, your circumstances. But since it is such a dire thing that's happening in the U.S. and all of the manufacturing is basically not done here, they really need to take a look at saying, okay, we're not going to subsidize you taking your jobs elsewhere. If you want these subsidies, or if you want us to give you these tax breaks, then we're going to base it off of the American workers that you hire here. So there's that. Another reason why, and as a business owner, there are a lot of expenses that come with owning your own business and operating. And one of the things that people need to understand is there's a reason why these companies take jobs abroad. Is because it costs less for them with their overhead to pay such low wages. And if you want to kind of offset that would help if you say you hire people here, then we'll give you incentives, then we'll give you subsidies. And another real big thing I think that people need to understand is having the government to actually cover health care will actually do a great justice for businesses that are trying to cut costs. Because if the government already pays for health care, then that's something that as a company you do not have to do. And that expense you can use to actually give better wages or things of that nature. Okay, so there's just a lot of things that if we look at it in a common, practical way, that Medicaid for all could actually help businesses to actually expand, because then you don't have to cover your employees' Medicare or Medicaid or any of that, because everyone would be paying into it. And then that way you don't have to say, oh, we have, it's not all on the onus of business owners to say we have to cover to cover healthcare, because the government already does that. And if somebody wants to purchase, higher, then there's an exchange for all of that. So I think if we look at these in practical manners, all of these things can actually help businesses if businesses are willing to take a look at that. So moving on. Let's see. There was another issue. I thought this was very funny. But when Bill de Blasio says, I'm the only one on this stage that has been raising a black son, I was like, whoa, did he just pull the race card? But pulled the black race card and used it as I just thought that was very interesting. But anyway, anywho. But what he was, and this goes to the gun control issue, or the gun issues and in connection with communities. But basically what he was saying is, if we're going to address gun issues, we not only need to address gun issues when it comes to citizens enacting gun violence on other citizens. He's also talking about if we also need to address gun issues when it comes to law enforcement as well. And I think that is a great point that he brought up. I support him in that, because when there are gun issues, it's not just citizens, but it is also law enforcement with the police brutality and all of this stuff. And if we're going to address guns, we need to address guns on a whole, not just isolated to certain groups that were, So there's that. There was another thing. Beto O'Rourke and Julian kind of got into a debate over the immigration, and Julian was basically saying that there needs to be a repeal of Section 1325. Not sure what that is, but I'll go research that and look that up. And then, so let's see, where else? Oh, I noticed that Miss Gabond from Hawaii had to really kind of check Representative Ryan from Ohio, because basically he was trying to use the rhetoric of, we have these certain laws because of, because of the Taliban attacking us with 9/11. And she had to say, no, sir, that was Al Qaeda, and that she actually went into service to protect our country. And it was just a kind of cross, and it kind of, for me, it was like, oh boy, he doesn't really know this issue as well. So she had to really check him and kind of say, no, that's not true. So these are my top candidates that I walked away with after the debate. Number 1, Elizabeth Warren, and number 2, Bill de Blasio. I think Beto O'Rourke or Cory Booker would be best if looked at as a vice president. So yeah, there's that. And that is my coverage of the debate. So take it away, Tasha. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? You know who it is, hunty. Don't try to play like you don't know who it is. It's my turn, and I'm just going to get straight into the debates, and I'm going to interlace my topics within the debate as well. So, let's just go over the list of all the people that were on the debate stage, day 2 of the Democratic debates. So, we got Michael Bennet, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, we got to talk. Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris. You know I love you, girl. But I got to talk to you too. John Hickenlooper, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williams, and Andrew Yang. Okay, so let's get right on into it. I have to give, props to Bernie, because he is always straight up and down. When he says something, he don't try to it's interesting to me because he's a politician, but he honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like the best example I can give you is when they asked him, are the middle class going to see, an increase in their taxes? Well, after he explained what they would get, then he was like, yes, they will see an increase. So to me, that's an honest man. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna raise your taxes, but I'm trying to give you free healthcare, and I'm trying to give you healthcare in general for the taxes that you're gonna be paying for. So I have to commend him on that. And I noticed that he tries not to say things that he knows he's not ever going to do. So that's actually a good quality. And I think that's what's probably putting him above everybody else in the race, because on a national poll, Bernie Sanders is still up here. Like nobody is touching Bernie because Bernie's up here with that honesty. He's not trying to promise people the world and don't do it. He's like, eh. And if he feels like he can't do it, he ain't gonna say it. All right, with getting into Hickenlooper, bruh, you can't be afraid of what Republicans are gonna call you. You got to do your race and you got to run it hard. The Republicans are going to call you a socialist, whether you tell people you're not a socialist or not. They just going to do that because they have their own agenda. And if they can demonize you in any shape, form, or fashion, that's what they're going to do. So you need to suck that up. All right. Going on down to Pete, Mr. Petey. I know that you had to go home to South Bend and deal with the situation involving a cop shooting. And this goes back to even Gurley's topic when she addressed the fact that in Bill de Blasio, he was like, we got to address not only citizen violence with guns, we also need to talk about gun violence within our law enforcement, particularly police officers. So here's the topic part. In South Bend, a man by the name of Eric Logan was shot down by a police officer. This police officer had refused to turn on his body cam. Now, in the debate, when it was actually brought up, Pete Buttigieg was like, it was just something we couldn't do. No, boo-boo, there was something that you could do, but you actually took steps to go the opposite way. See, there was actually a black police chief when Pete Buttigieg was initially elected as mayor. He demoted that black police chief, and then there was a white police chief put in that place. Now, the black police chief had told Pete Buttigieg that there was some racist stuff going on, that he found evidence that his police officers were engaging in some racist activities, and that, he basically needed help in stamping them out. But that's not what Pete did. It was basically a cover-up. So now when you got this stuff hitting the fan, yeah, the shit hit the fan. And now he's like, well, I just couldn't do anything about it. Nah, bro, you did the opposite. You should have been like, okay, let's bring all of this to the light. Let's fix it. Let's address it. Let's, deal with the police officers and, all that stuff. But he didn't. So unfortunately to me, based off of what I've been able to research and see, is you unfortunately was a part of the cover up. And now that nationally people know about it, that might just, you don't know. I don't know. It's too soon to say anything. You may get home and you may fix it. You may fire all those people and that'll boost your national rating and say, oh, okay, I finally fixed it. But we'll see. And he gave Eric Swalwell some daggers. Boy, I was like, oh, check Pete giving that dude some daggers. Oh, shoot. There it is. I mean, that dude looked at him like he wanted to, gun him down when Eric Swalwell was like, why didn't you just fire the police chief? And in this case, it would be the white police chief, because the white police chief is the one that, was basically in the cover up of all this stuff. So there you go. And that was the topic. Now, moving on. So I will give 2 thumbs up to this next person. Her name is Marianne Williamson. 2 thumbs up on that one, because she was the only person on the stage that outright was like, I support reparations for black people because of chattel. She didn't say chattel, but she was like, for slavery. And I was like, check this woman out. Woke much? Yeah. So I was like, I can't believe this. Like, sometimes there are some folks out there that get it. Some folks that's out there that get it. So anyway, so she, came right out and supported reparations for black people. And then my sister Kamala Harris pulled out her card, was like, bam, I need to talk about this too. She was like, since we talking about race in America, let's talk about this. And she kind of diverted the conversation about her difficulty in integrating her school. What I would have appreciated more is if Kamala Harris would have been like, yes, I also support reparations for black people, and this is why. Because I faced, when we were trying to integrate my school, how bad segregation was, and this is why black people haven't been able to rise, because there's literally been systematic activities put in place to hold black people down. And this busing situation, which you and Mr. Biden was a part of, helped to keep or suppress black people. So I just really wish she would have kind of used that to elevate the story that she was telling them. Lastly, let me give you my tops. Okay. So from the debate, day 2, here are my top folks. 1, Bernie Sanders. 2, Kamala Harris. And if we're talking about possible vice presidents, I got Kirsten Gillibrand and John Hickenlooper and Eric Swalwell. So that's that. That's it. I love y'all. Y'all keep it going and come back next week for some more. Bye.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Nice But Feisty with Mandy Nice and Tasha Feisty.